Yes. Once again, my name is Kwame Gunza, and this channel is called Africa Reimagined. We are here today once again to bring to you what is happening on our continent. The program is called Weekly African Roundup Updates from around the African world. That means on the continent and in the diaspora. Like I said originally I mentioned that if you are out there in the diaspora and you would like to participate in this program on a weekly basis for us to update the Pan-African world on what is going on, then you are very welcome. You are very welcome to reach me, in the comment section or leave your email and contact. I'll definitely reach out to you, and then we can have these conversations every Sunday. Or you are anywhere on the continent and you would like to, give us a precise understanding of what is happening on the continent, because the program is purposely meant to update every week, update the Africans and the people of African descent on what is happening in the Pan-African world. Like we said in the past, this is an era in which we have been given an opportunity for us to put out our own narrative. Technology has made it possible for us to put out our own narrative and stop listening to those people who don't like us, who have been historically enemies of Africa, and they have been, brainwashing the Africans. Not only that, but they have been, blackmailing us. Yeah, let me use that word. They have been blackmailing us, for a very long time, talking all kind of things, and then talking us, saying our story, talking for us. So it is time that this technology has made it possible. So it is time for us to take advantage of that. You have seen people like Wodimaya and others, how they are using the platforms to change the narrative about Africa. And this is a good thing. So while people are changing it in that direction, it is time, even intellectually, politically, for those who are our intellectuals also to jump on the bandwagon, to jump on the wagon and also start changing the intellectual narrative. We have achieved a lot as Africans in sports, in music, in all the things. One thing we have not yet achieved is building ourselves a functional nation. I mean, I know this is something which we can discuss over and over, but we need to build ourselves a strong nation so that we can stop those who have abrogated upon themselves rights to to supervise Africans and their political affairs and their economic affairs, our economic and political affairs. So we have not built a strong nation, ever since the last 600 years, a nation which can withstand this pressure. So we have not built that nation. So the African intellectuals have to be at the forefront of doing this. So that is why I say they need to come out of the hiding and start talking all over the continent and defending the continent, and then stating Africa's position. What is Africa's position on politics? What is Africa's position on economics? What is Africa's position on all matters, culturally and all the things? So we have to go back in that history of our forefathers and defend the continent. So I'm here because I want to update us on what is happening in the continent. Every weekly we do this. If this is your first time to watch this channel, you need to go back and update yourself on what has been happening on the continent. There's a lot that has been happening on the continent, and so you need to go out there, update yourself. We have a lot of videos. When I'm talking about updating yourself, I'm saying that we have a lot of videos which we have published, and those videos about the happenings that have gone on in the past on the African continent. We have published a lot of videos. So even today is the same thing. We are coming here to update the continent about what is happening on the continent. We have updates from Somalia. We have updates from Zimbabwe and South Africa. We have updates from Kenya. We have from Angola. We have updates from, like I said, Zimbabwe, and a little bit from Ghana. And then we have from, Sudan. Sudan, definitely. And then we have from Ethiopia, the happenings in Ethiopia, which is very, very important, for us to focus on. So we focus on all over the continent. And then we have updates that happened outside the continent. We have updates from Libya. Let me not forget that. So we also talk about, happenings that happened outside the continent, but they affect the African people. So straight away, let me go and start off with Somalia. Somalia, we had some disturbance. Definitely, it was not good. There was a bombing in Somalia which killed around 20 people, and this attack, which was very, very unfortunate. They say it was carried out by the Al-Shabaab. Saturday, this very morning, and caused the heavy losses. They ambushed a truck carrying, they claim, aid, and civilians, so they said that about 20 people died during that, attack. So that is, Somalia for you, and what happened in Somalia. So that is what happened, in Somalia. It was very unfortunate, and then we want to say that we commiserate together with you, those who have lost their loved ones in Somalia. We mourn together with you, and those who are injured, we ask, that the Creator may comfort you and give you, speedy recovery. The Creator may give you speedy recovery. That is what we pray. We pray for. Number two, we will go to Kenya, Somalia's neighborhood. We are in Kenya, in Somalia's neighborhood. In Kenya, you remember there was a declaration that President Ruto won. President Ruto, who was the vice president in Kenya, won the election in Kenya. So on winning, Raila Odinga, who is more than 70 years, I think he's approaching his 80s, and President Ruto, who's around 55, Raila Odinga claimed that the election was rigged. So the election is in court right now, and the Supreme Court is about to settle, this situation. There's a lot of anxiety, definitely, as you see the headlines from the East African, the news. There is a lot of anxiety in the situation. But myself, I would say, and I would think that the times we are in have changed, and the continent needs energetic people. The needs of the time, I think they do not allow us to have old, very, very old leaders, leaders on the continent. We would need a person like Ruto. And I think that in Kenya, the fact that the sitting president, who was, Uhuru Kenyatta, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta was supporting Odinga. The fact that Mr. Raila Odinga lost this election, and he was being supported by the sitting president, and they have all the power and the tools. The fact that he was able to lose the election, I think he should be very, very, contented, because the only person I expected here to cry foul that the election has been rigged, it should be, Ruto. William Ruto should be the one, to be complaining that the election was rigged, because he was sort of like an outsider in the system, and he was not being supported by the sitting president. So I myself would claim that the election was fair. And on top of that, this continent, the era we have emerged in, the era we are in, the challenges that we face today need young people, very energetic, and they can quickly respond, to the needs of the continent. we need people like Ruto with all his energy. 55 years, I think, is enough. He still has a lot of energy to be able to respond to the demands, of the African people, and this is the type of energy which we need. Unlike people like Raila Odinga, who I think is quite old. He's quite not. He doesn't have enough energy. I mean, I spoke about this even in the last week's update, and I said that he doesn't look strong even during the campaigns. That even his speech, you could see that it has slowed down. So this is not someone who has enough energy to respond to the needs of the continent. To be honest, we have to be honest sometimes. Even though this honesty hurts, even though it hurts us, we have to be, honest about this situation. From there, we will go to Angola. Definitely Angola. What happened there was that there was also an election. This has been an election season in Angola also. There was an election, and this election also was won by the sitting president and the sitting party, which is called the MPLA, the Movement for the People's Liberation of Angola. They won this election, and they were declared leaders. Okay, so President Joao Lourenço, won a second time as a sitting president. But on the other side, in the same country, they were burying, they were, laying to rest the recent president, in the same week while they were declaring President Lourenço and his party, the same party to which the late president, belonged to, is the one which won the election. So that is what happened in Angola, and we pray for the people of Angola. We pray for peace, but more so we pray for a Pan-African spirit. That is very, very important to us as Africans. That is paramountly important to us as Africans. It is very, very important, and that is to do with Angola. We wish you well, the sitting president who won the election and the party. We pray that you guys operate in a Pan-African spirit, because we need a union government very, very soon. We need a union government of African states very, very soon. And those ones who lost, we pray that you come back strong next time. But you also, as opposition parties, instead of selling out the people and selling out the continent to foreigners who have rather been destroying the continent, it is important that you also operate in a Pan-African spirit. This is what we need for the continent, not sanctions. I remember, Dr. Arikana was talking about the opposition, in a recent appearance with Wadi Maya. Dr. Arikana was talking about the opposition and how it is being used, normally being used to attack the continent, to attack the interests of the continent, which is unfortunate. It can be unfortunate many, many times. This can be an unfortunate situation that an opposition can be used to attack the interests of the continent. So it is imperative, it is important that we as a people, as African people, whether you are in the opposition, whether you are in the ruling party, you have to work in and operate in a Pan-African spirit and forget about your own interests. Forget about your own interests, because even when she was saying this, she made a remark that if the party MDC in Zimbabwe came to power, even themselves, they would struggle to remove the sanctions, because it would not take 1, 2, 3 years. It would take like more than 10 years. And, before those sanctions would be removed. So it would not be very good for them to continue to go to the people who have been oppressing us for centuries and ask them to keep sanctions on the country. So it is very, very unfortunate. That shows lack of the spirit of Africanism and Pan-Africanism, and shows a lot of selfishness, to be honest, on the other side. So in the other news which we had was that Wadimaya, Africa's renowned YouTuber, and a person and someone who loves the continent and has been putting out the image of this continent, Africa, positively, was able to visit Zimbabwe, where he has been for some time, and in that visit, he has been able to visit, Dr. Arikana Chiombori, and I would play an audio here slightly so that you can hear some of the speeches, some of the things which Dr. Harikana said. Of course, the video was titled that Africa's independence, which was given. Dr. Harikana said that the independence which was given to Africa is fake, is a fake independence. And I would like to, differ from her. I would like to have a different opinion from her, because Africa, I believe that it fought for the independence. The independence was not given to us. If you look at countries like Zimbabwe, for example, they fought with guns to take up this independence. But there were some other mistakes which were made. So rather, the independence was not given to us, that they gave us an independence, which is fake. But rather, we fought for the independence. And when we fought for this independence, when we got it, we made certain mistakes that left us ununited, and then we ended up with the Casablanca and the Monrovia groups, and then other mistakes followed. But on top of that, neocolonialism was at work, was very, very much at work. So I'd like you to listen to Dr. Chiombori, so you can have something also to think about from what you can pick out something from what she's saying.
What they deposited the previous year as a loan at commercial interest rates. I want to underscore that. They can only borrow their own money upon approval of an application after submitting their country financials. If approved, they can only access 20% of the previous year's deposit as a loan at commercial interest rates. That is our reality. It gets better. They were also told that if you need any military equipment, you can only purchase it from France. Your military can only be trained by France. That France will have military presence in your own country and can invade you without notice should they feel French interests are being violated. Language of instruction shall be French. All your minerals discovered, yet to be discovered, France has the first right of refusal. All the contracts, big contracts, private and public, French companies have the first right of refusal. Now, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, if you were to go home and run for president, and your first day in office, your chief of staff comes to you and says, oh, by the way, Mr. President, Madam President, before you start, I must read you the do's and don'ts as stipulated by the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. And your chief of staff reads this to you. What power do you have?
We don't even print our own money. Most of the countries in Africa.
Forget printing money. When you have to borrow your own money, how much power do you have?
Because printing money, you also have to pay for printing your own money for you.
They're printing their money for them. All the money is printed in France. It gets worse. So you give up your financial control, your military equipment, training has to be done in France. Your natural resources, discovered, yet to be discovered. French companies, the first right of refusal. So you've given up your natural resources, you've given up your military control, you've given up your financial control, and you still call that person a leader. What are they leading? You have stripped them of anything that they can do to be a true leader. That's why I say it's a fake independence. Until we as a people, as Africans, understand the root causes of why Africa is where it is today, it's going to be very difficult for us to come up with a plan that can get us out of the situation that we are in.
Do African leaders know this problem?
Oh, yes, they do. But like I said, they're fighting with their hands tied.
Yes, definitely. That is Dr. Chiombori out there. She was making her remarks about the fake independence which we were given. And I admire my mother, Dr. Chombori, and her struggles and how she struggled. She is a very outspoken mother and lady who has fought for this continent, definitely, for a very long time, ever since she was the ambassador of the African Union to the United States. That is when she started being very outspoken, because she's been in the United States for some time. I think she was a doctor there. She's a citizen over there, but she's also a citizen of Zimbabwe, and at the same time, a citizen of Ghana, because her dear husband is from Ghana. And I respect her passion for our people, our continent. Uh, and I admire her struggles and what she's accomplished for us as a people, as African people, all across the globe, and she has accomplished for this continent and being outspoken. So this her outspokenness brought a lot of attention to the activities of France, which is still on the continent, exploiting and disturbing a lot of countries on the continent. So the only difference which I had with her is just an opinion, and it is healthy. It is healthy for us to have difference of opinion, to be, to think differently. It is healthy. So my difference of opinion with her is that I think that independence, our independence, we fought for it. We fought for it. We were not given any independence. These people did not give us independence. When you look at Ghana, the struggles it had, with Ethiopia, it had to shed blood to stay independent. Kenya, the Mau Mau, the Maji Maji in Tanzania, they had to fight these white people out of the country. Congo, all these countries, South Africa, blood has to be shed. Blood had to be shed even in Zimbabwe itself, Mozambique, Angola, all these places. So they did not give us independence. I remember a speech which even recently Museveni gave, and he said that these people, we had to fight them out of here. We don't know even their intention, what their intention was, because everywhere these whites went, they wiped out the people in Australia, New Zealand, North America, in the Caribbean. They went and wiped out the indigenous people. So I think that they had the intention of wiping Africans off the continent and occupying it, you see, and then populating it with the Europeans. That is why you see they are still lodging even in South Africa and claiming, ownership to the land in South Africa, and that is still a problem. And when Zimbabwe stripped them of that land and gave it back to the Africans, who are the true owners of the land, still they complained, and this was the genesis of the sanctions. So we fought for the independence. So when we fought for the independence, if you examine Dr. Nkrumah's work, you can see that there were some mistakes which were made when Nkrumah was warning. Nkrumah warned that let us get independence, let us get that independence. When we get independence, we consolidate the independence through unity. That is number two. Number two, you see, number two, we had to consolidate independence through African unity. And number three, then we had to start the process of reconstruction of the continent. But we failed at number two. We achieved the independence. We failed to consolidate that independence through African unity. And then we could not go on to the process of reconstruction. So the colonialists came back. So that is what really happened. And the African leaders, to say that their hands are tied, I really don't think that their hands are really that tied. If there is anything, I believe that they are fearful. Okay, they are fearful, many of them, for their lives. That to be a leader on the African continent, you need courage. You need a very good measure of courage to be able to lead the continent, to be able to be a leader on the continent. You need a very good, a very strong dose of courage, so that you can go out there and fight for the people, because we have been a vulnerable people for a very long time on this continent and the diaspora. So we need strong leaders who have a good dose of courage, that they will go out there, mobilize their fellow African leaders to unify the continent. That is what we need. What do the leaders speak about when, they meet at the African Union headquarters, in Addis Ababa? So this is what we are saying, that they cannot claim that their hands are completely tied. And that is where the citizens of the African continent also come in. that we have to push forward. We have to push forward. Also, we have to advocate, we have to demand that we need a union government. So the citizens of Africa also, we have a very big role to play, and we are doing that. We are doing that as a people, as Pan-Africanists. That is why we have petitions running around, and those petitions, their purpose is to advocate that people sign these petitions for the unification of the African continent. And like I said in the past, when you check the videos which I have published, we have those petitions in the description and in the comment sections. The petitions have been endorsed by, the PLO Lumumba Foundation, Dr. Edmond Folfak, Dr. Susan, Pan-African Daily TV, and Sister Shanice. All these Pan-Africans, the strong Pan-Africans, have endorsed these petitions. So I would ask you that you go out there and sign these petitions, which are demanding for a union government, a single passport and currency for the African people, and a single military for the African people. So we have to work together with these leaders and push them forward, because many of them are scared, because they think that the continent is so weak that it doesn't have any means of defense. But if we start with these things and they see that we are behind as a people, as African citizens, I think they would get a little bit of courage to act in the interest of the African people. So that is what happened with Dr. Chiombori, and I appreciate how much work she's been doing for our people all over the continent. She's the founder of ADDI, and she's been mobilizing the African diaspora so that they can put together their resources and come back on the continent and do something with those resources for the interest of advancing Africans, okay, for the interest of advancing the Africans. The other news which we have is that from Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, we have a situation whereby the United States came out to condemn Eritrea, and to say that Eritrea is involved in the struggle, in the war that is happening, in the mutiny, in the struggle that Ethiopia is engaged in putting down a rebellion by the TPLF forces. And I find this problematic that the United States is thousands and thousands away, of miles, and it doesn't even know anything about the continent, doesn't know much about our continent, that it keeps making these comments. It is very unfortunate, and I would encourage the United States to focus on the needs of the American people. The economy in the United States is shrinking. Homelessness is skyrocketing. And like Donald Trump has said, they need to focus on the United States and leave Africa alone to solve its own affairs. So they even sent an ambassador. They sent an ambassador to Sudan. The United States sent an ambassador to Sudan and has been sending what it is calling a Horn of Africa representative of the United States. I think if they have an ambassador in these countries, it should be enough. This extravagant and unnecessary sending of people who don't represent countries as ambassadors on the continent, I think, is uncalled for and is unacceptable. And as Africans, we reject it. And we reject all the interference of the United States and Europe, into the affairs of how Africa is conducting its affairs and stopping and facing its challenges. So we reject that, and we said that the United States should focus on the problems it is having, at home. It is having a lot of problems at home, so it should focus on those problems. In the other news which we have a situation in Libya where people died. A lot of people died in Tripoli due to clashes between the government in Benghazi and the government in Tripoli, and a lot of people, went ahead to be squeezed in this situation. So a lot of people died. More than 40 people died, and others were injured. which was a very unfortunate situation. Dozens killed and over 150 injured in Tripoli as fears of wider crisis grow. We remember what happened to to Libya, in 2011, that the Americans and their fellow Europeans went to attack Libya, and that country, ever since now, we are into the 12th year, and the country has refused to settle. The country has failed to settle. It has not refused, but it has failed to stabilize. And it's the same situation that happened to Somalia. 30 years ago, the Americans went to attack Somalia, and up to that time, up to now, from that time up to now, that country has never stabilized. So that is why we are insisting as Pan-Africanists that we reject any interference of the United States anywhere, because there is no place where the Europeans have gone and that place has remained peaceful. People have died, and those places have never, stabilized. And example which we have shown you Somalia, we have shown you Libya, which you can see is an example here. We have shown you other places where themselves they have ran, Iraq, Vietnam, Afghanistan. So they keep going to places and destabilizing places and running away. And this is unacceptable as Africans. That is why we reject any involvement of the United States and Europeans in our affairs, in our political and economic affairs, because they are majorly a source of destabilization for the African people. We, categorically reject the involvement of the United States into the affairs of the African people. We reject it categorically, and we say that we will be able to find African solutions to these African problems which are facing the African continent, that we actually do not need any help from Europeans when it comes to stabilizing our continent. We have enough intelligence and we have enough capability to be able to stabilize this continent. In the other news which we have, let me run real quickly so that we can close up, is that South Africa was able to extend the visas of Zimbabweans, for another 6 months, which is called a one-time extension of 6 months. I find it disturbing, that citizens, we have been claiming, and that is why actually Nkrumah was against these regional groupings. Zimbabwe is part of SADC. It is unfortunate that the citizens in SADC cannot move freely, and we are talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We are talking about SADC, and still South Africa find it, that it has to give permits to citizens of SADC, from Zimbabwe. This is a very unfortunate situation. And that is why Dr. Kwame Nkrumah criticized these organizations and said that these organizations, they will not take us anywhere. These regional organizations, they are just a source of destabilization. They are just a source of procrastination, where people, weak people, who don't even care about the continent, sellouts, they hide behind these organizations to claim that they are working for this African continent, and where imperialism and neocolonialism actually it is operating from. It is behind these organizations, and that is what we are seeing in South Africa. So even though we applaud the gesture of extending the permits, to the citizens of Africa and the citizens of SADC, we think that it should not be about permits. People should be free to work anywhere they want on the continent, and the issue of xenophobia, imposed upon the Africans in South Africa should be tackled, strongly, because we know and understand that we are working on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and we are working on a unified government. So how are we going to deal with this? And just to say, South Africa also in 2011, is one of the countries which, allowed the United States and the Europeans to come and attack Libya. So all these things, sometimes we do them and we don't think that they will have a blowback effect. And that is why you see that the Africans who are working in Libya, they have to find another means of sustenance, and they have to go to an economy, the nearby economy, which is thriving. And that is why you are seeing that a lot of Africans now, they have decided to go to South Africa. So it has to take this responsibility. I think South Africa has to take the responsibility of the mistakes that were made, instead of encouraging xenophobia. Rather go out there and fight it, and stop saying that 6-month visas, 6-month visas, extended visas have been extended, permits have been extended for 6 months. It should not be 6 months, it should be extended indefinitely. But rather, we thank you for that gesture, the government of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa. We thank you with your government for extending the permits of our fellow Africans, so that they can continue to work and live in peace. So last week, also, as I close up, 2 more briefings as I close up. Last week was an international day for people of African descent, and the United Nations Secretary General came out to give some remarks, and he said that the people of African descent continue to face racism. And when we are talking about people of African descent, we refer to what Nkrumah said, that all people of African descent, whether they are living in the Caribbean, North America, and anywhere on the continent, are Africans and belong to the African nation. So people of African descent, last week, 31st August, was International Day of People of African Descent, even though it was not highlighted internationally that that the people on the continent, the African people on the continent, should know and be aware. That is what it was, and it is very important for us to put it in our mind that every 31st August of the year is the day of the International Day for the people of African descent. So the Secretary General came out to say that the people of African descent continue to face racism, not only at the United Nations, as you have seen in the past when African presidents are speaking at the United Nations, they are not regarded. And then in the past also, we have been denied as African people a seat on the United Nations Permanent Security Council of the United Nations. This is racism. We have seen African people in the streets of the United States are killed every day by the security forces, by the corrupt security forces in the United States. They are gunned down. Women, children, men, all of them are killed indiscriminately. And this is what was highlighted. And it is very imperative that we continue to highlight these atrocities and this racism against the African people. And he also highlighted the need for reparations for people of African descent, for slavery, not only slavery, but also colonialism. Not only slavery, reparations. And these countries which conducted slavery and colonialism, we have forgiven them for the atrocities, but we have not forgiven them to the extent that they destroyed our things and colonized us. So we need reparations for both slavery and colonialism. Those things have to be discussed. The fact that these discussions have reached the United Nations, it is very, very important, and it is a very good thing, because people like Prime Minister of Barbados, Maya Motley, has been championing the reparations cause, and organizations like the Global African Congress, Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute, and all the other organizations like the All Africa People's Revolutionary Party, the Uhuru Movement. All these have been championing these causes for reparations for African people and people of African descent. So for the slavery and colonialism. So this has to be put in consideration. It has to be looked at seriously. As I round up, the other thing is that Mali has continued to gain control of the government, and it has continued to repel imperialism and its attack on Mali through France. France has continued to undermine. France has gone on to continue to undermine, the government in Mali and to try to overthrow it. But fortunately, fortunately, the government in Mali has continued, to consolidate its position in the country, and we thank the government of Mali, for making those inroads. Those inroads. The government of Mali continued to make those inroads. The last news which I have, which happened around the world and affects the African continent, is that the government, the government, of Russia and the government of China came out to urge the United States and Europe and its allies to release the assets, to release the money which the United States stole from Afghanistan, because the Afghanistan economy, the economy in Afghanistan, has not been doing well ever since the United States left. We know that the United States was occupying Afghanistan for the last 20 years, and it has destroyed a lot of things in Afghanistan, destroyed the country almost completely. And then when it came out, on top of that, it stole around the United States and its European allies. They stole around $7 billion. So Russia has been, urging that they return that money so that the Afghanistan people, can get some relief for their economy, so that they can revive their economy. And the United States, unfortunately, blatantly at the United Nations on the briefing, on that briefing that happened on Afghanistan, blatantly, the United Nations representative at the United, at the United States representative at the UN, at the United Nations, blatantly, Mrs. Linda said that they would not give back that money. So, but as Africans who are humanitarians, and as Africans who care about human rights, and as Africans who are humanistic, we urge the Europeans and the United States to return the money that belongs to the African people, so that the African people can be able to take care of themselves, so that the African people can be able to take care of their economy, because their economy is facing a lot of trouble. And this is a blatant violation of the human rights of the Afghani people. If you deny them access to their own money, they are not begging that you should give them free money. They are demanding that you give them what belongs to them. And if you deny them access to their money, access to their finances, this is robbery, this is a theft, this is violation, blatant violation of human rights. And you cannot continue to go around the world talking about human rights when you are still holding the money of the Afghani people and claiming that you don't actually have a reason for holding that money. So the money should be returned. My name is Kwame Gonza, and the channel is called Africa Reimagined. The show is called Weekly Africa Roundup Updates from the Pan-African world and the African world. In this update, we normally talk about, and we update you on the news that are happening around the continent. I want to thank you if you have been hooked on the channel. And like I said, my name is Kwame Gonza. Go out there, sign the petitions for the unification of the continent, a single currency and passport, and a single military on the continent, for us to put pressure on the existing structure, on the existing African Union, and achieve a union government as we fight for it, because that is our heritage. Our heritage that was left for us by our ancestors is a union government. That is what will speed up the progress of African reconstruction and development. Nothing else. No neoliberal measures, no white people's solutions will do that. It is only African solutions, and those solutions are within the writings of our ancestors, the sayings of our ancestors, like Nkrumah, Honorable Gavi, Padmo, and all the great, and currently, Chairman Omali Yashitela of African People's Socialist Party in the United States, of the Uhuru movement. So we thank you all who have been watching, and we pray that you continue to, to keep safe. We are out of there. Africa must unite. Africa must unite. Africa must unite. Thank you very much.